Hey, BassGeek here, and today I'm going to take you out on a lake that I've never been to, at least in my boat, and we're going to look for some deep water bass. Okay guys, so here we are, we're out on a lake that I've actually never been out on in my own boat. I'm totally by myself, so this is kind of a new lake to me. I fished a few tournaments on it, there's some videos on it in the past. This lake, we'll call it Top Secret Lake D, is about 2 hours from where I live at. A little less than that, but roughly once you stop, get gas, blah, 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 right? So, this lake is really well known for the deep water bite. It's probably one of the most fertile, one of the best lakes in what I'll call my area of Tennessee. So I'm out here a little early. I did reach out to a buddy of mine. I got some intel. Hey Rod, thank you very much. I didn't get any spots because I want to come out here and see what I can do for myself. You know, I want to be able to break down lake maps. It's always a challenge, and it's always best to go out and see what you can do by yourself first. You know, sometimes you can reach out and help, you know, have some people to help you, but get out there and learn. And, you know, I talked to another buddy of mine a little while ago, and, you know, he's learning the deep bite. And one of the things that I told him, don't pass up the obvious. You know, the obvious is obvious for a reason. Don't go making it harder on yourself to learn. Yeah, everybody probably knows about it, but so do most of the fish. If it looks obvious to you, it's going to be obvious to the bass a lot of times. So go out there, and if you can catch those bass in those, let's just call them community holes that are absolutely obvious, they get a lot of pressure, well, you're going to be able to catch them super easy when you find that needle in the haystack. Just don't waste your time spinning the needle in the haystack, looking for that needle in the haystack. Now, I'm going to show you the deck of my boat. Here's the next thing. I know we all like to go fishing, but if you want to do this, I'm dedicating a day to staring at this right here. This right here is what I'm going to be doing all day long. Now, if I find something, yeah, sure, I'm going to pull a rod out, I'm going to cast on them, I'm going to see if they're bass or whatever they are. I mean, you got to know. We'll get into that a little later. Let me give you a rundown of the conditions. So the conditions for the day right now, guys, it's perfect. So everything's getting a little bit of a late start this year in my area because it seems like the cold, the winter just did not want to relinquish into spring, and now we've jumped straight into summer. A lot of guys don't like that, a lot of people don't like that, but a deep water guy loves that because the hotter it gets, the sooner and the more it sustains, the quicker it pushes those bass out to the deeps. Remember, there's 3 places you look in the summertime. It's deep holes, it's grass, or it's current, moving water, banks of creeks. Now, just like any time of year, you know, at the cooler side of the summer bite, when they first get out there, you're going to experience 2 things. You're going to have the fish, as they come out, they're going to be hit or miss. So you'll find schools that you'll get a bite out of, and that's pretty much all you're going to get. But as the schools begin to grow and competition for food begins to grow, they're going to get a little more, you know, aggressive. But they'll hit a peak, and then as the water temperatures and the sun get even, you know, higher, that'll all slow down. So you'll have to go away from the moving baits. You'll have to go away from, you know, those big spoons I like to throw, those swim baits, and that's when you're going to start dragging. So again, let me give you the temperature. The water temps are dead on perfect. 79.4 degree this morning. That is exactly what I'm looking for. The air temperature, it's going to start out around about 63. It's going to get up to almost 90, if not 90 degrees today. It's going to be a little cloudy, mostly sunny. Not going to be a lot of wind today. We're kind of in that high pressure area. Had some storms yesterday. Going to get some rain tomorrow. So actually it's kind of what you want for deep fish, you know. They'll kind of suck up to the bottom. We'll see what we can find, and hopefully we'll run a big swim bait through there and jack a few for you on camera. But if not, the big deal about today is just locating those schools. We're going to locate those schools, we're going to mark those schools that we find, and we're going to see if those schools are comers or goers. You know, we're going to see if maybe next week they're back out here bigger, more, or if they're kind of dissipating and leaving. All right, let's get after it. All right, guys, so some of the things I want to show you. I'm using Navionics. There's a lot of things that can be, or that's going to show you, you know, different things, different ways. But the very first thing I want to show you when it comes to reading a map, the closer the lines are together, this is your shoreline. This is just a shallow area that I've got marked. The closer the lines are together, see right here how they get a little closer? The deeper or steeper, actually the steeper is a better word, the drop off is. So this right here is, you know, a nice gradual drop off. Out here you can see this is actually your main river channel. This is a creek channel. Now these lines won't always be marked like this, but a lot of times you'll get lucky, and if it's a good map and they've mapped it a lot, sorry, a boat just went by me there, you know, you'll see this sort of thing. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to look where the creek channel actually runs up against the main river channel right here, and it'll run up against these main lake points. Those are some areas that we're really going to look at. All right, let's go look at a few places and see what we can find. So let's talk about the types of baits that I actually have out on my deck and I'm using. Now remember, this day is all about hunting and finding fish, trusting your electronics, trusting what you see on your electronics. You paid a lot of money for those things. Make sure you trust in what you're seeing on the graph. We're taking a few baits, we're making a few casts to some key spots, and then we're moving on. We're not here to catch a 20-pound bag of fish, we're here to find it. So we want to cover as much water. Even if we find a mega school, we want to make a few casts, maybe catch a fish or two very quickly, but we're not going to spend more than 15, 20 minutes fishing one spot. And that's a lot of time to spend in my book. You know, 5-10 minutes, 5-10 casts. That's it. Again, we're not here to catch the 20-pound bag today. We're just here to find it. And depending on the size of the lake, and this particular lake is quite large in the number of kind of offshore structure spots you need to cover. So let's actually go over the baits. So number one, I'm going to have my swim bait, a 5 to 6 inch swim bait on a 1/2 ounce head. I've got a video on how I like to set up, what rod and reel that I like to set up. You can go check that out. I put that out a couple years ago. The reason I like a swim bait that size tends to be a good all-around size. It's going to catch smallmouth, it's going to catch largemouth, small ones to big ones. I can also fish it at different levels in the water column. If they're chasing shad out over 25 feet, but they're in 15, I can count it down. I can bring it right through the bottom of the school of the bait. I can let it sink to the bottom. I can slow roll it and keep it in contact with the bottom. It gives me options and the ability to fish all levels of the water column. The next bait is going to be a slower bait. It's probably going to be a Carolina rig or a wobble head. Carolina rig or a wobble head is a little more slow, but I'm going to put a heavy weight on it. 3/4 to an ounce head. And the reason why is because I can fish that a lot faster. I can drag it faster. I'll fish it from shallow to deep, and I can cover water with it quickly. The next bait is a spoon. Again, a spoon gives me the ability to fish for suspended bass, gives me the ability to cover a lot of the water column. It's a very reactionary bait. So you're really ripping it up off the bottom. my go-to spoon is probably going to be, I think it's the 5 or 6 inch Sexy Spoon by Strike King. I do like to throw the Ben Parker, the bigger, the Magnum spoons, but when I'm in search mode, that 5 or 6 inch tends to get more bites a little quicker. Something else I'll throw in with a spoon is the preacher jig, the big feather jig. Now this is a big one. I fish an ounce on it too. It's a little more subtle bait. But the last bait that I'll have tied on is going to be a crankbait. But I've seen what looked like some big crappie or some small bass. Nothing super exciting about this spot. We'll see what happens here. Easing up on the waypoint right now. I caught a 4-pounder here about a year ago when I was practicing for a BFL. So we'll see. There is some topwater action going on this morning. Now one thing about casting these swim baits, you know, the shad generally are out there. So what I'm doing is I'm actually casting out deep and I'm watching my line. Once it sinks to the bottom, I start moving. When that swim bait drops, I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to sit on the bottom for very long at all. How many shad do you see that sit still? And then it's just a nice slow retrieve, 1/2 ounce head. 6/0 hook, guys. I know a lot of you guys that are ordering for these 5 inch, you know, 5 to like 6.5 inch, you want that 6/0 hook, not the 5. As soon as that line goes slack, I'm moving that bait. You know, stop one, we got a bump, we've seen a bunch of fish, but you know, the deal is, I think most of those are small. Look, there was a couple of really good marks there, but other than those two, it really wasn't great. But one thing I do want to tell you, when you get a waypoint, throw at it from several directions. You know, I always start throwing with the lake current, and you know, to me, predominantly lake current is always going to be from the river to the dam. So you know, that's sort of the way I always start. I think that's going to be, you know, dominantly how the current runs, you know, especially out deep, 25, 35 feet deep. I just don't know that you're going to, you know, I just don't know how much the wind is going to really play a huge factor in that current and setting up the fish. I mean, if it's a really windy day, I can see it. If the shad are shallow, I can see it. Because it's going to blow, you know, the forage that the shad feed on. You know, again, that's one big thing. A lot of people tend to think that the shad are, you know, are blown around by the wind, but that's not the case. It's actually their forage that they feed on is what's going around. So here's the deal, you know, apparently these fish haven't moved out, really committed to getting out. You know, we're gonna hit a couple other places, but man, we have hit a lot of humps, points, and this is kind of what we find. You see the 2 fish right there. Let me stable up just a little bit. And of course you see their shadow. You know, these 2 decent marks, but really, thus far, what I'm finding is, you know, 2-3 fish here, 2-3 fish there. They're going to be real hard to get the bite. A lot of them are not really out deep. It's just been, you know, they're just scattered right now, which is generally a post-spawn deal. So they're kind of suspended, they're kind of scattered. You know, a lot of times one end of the lake is going to be better than the other, And right now it really looks like, you know, the upper end of the lake is going to be a little bit better. We're going to hit a few places in this creek, but right now, guys, I'll just be honest with you. You know, it's been pretty unsuccessful today. You know, I know when I got on the water today that there were some fish shallow. Probably could have went and flipped bushes, but what I'm doing right now is I'm doing my homework. I'm doing my pre-fishing for when these fish come out deep, when they, you know, when they finally do school up out here. The good thing is I found several places that have 2 or 3 fish, you know, even 4 or 5 fish. So we can go back and we can check that stuff later on. Some places I found holding a fish. But, you know, that's the sort of stuff we're going to come back and we're going to check as we get a little deeper into the summer. Guys, I just spotted 2 pretty good marks right here. Kind of let it rest. Let's see if we can't get bit. Just had 2 hits. Smallmouth. Look at that. I thought that hit like a smallmouth. That's a pretty good little smallie right there. What you want? 18-inch little smallmouth. Anyway, guys, not all schools are largemouth. And it just seems like I can't get away from the smallmouth. All right, guys, so what happened right there was I actually went down this bank. I seen there was a little flat spot over on the side, and I thought, hey, I'll check this out real quick. I'm out here looking for, you know, schooling largemouth actually, but pulled up, seen 2 marks, wheeled around, made 1 cast, got bit, threw back out there, 2nd cast, and we caught him. So a nice little 18-inch, probably 3-pound smallmouth. Not exactly what we're looking for, but you know, this is telling me, you know, they are in post spawn, a little earlier in post spawn than really what I was thinking. So I really wanted to put both these days into a single video, but there was so much information in the first video that I'm going to break it up into 2 videos. So this is part of the series, you know, showed you about the maps, kind of went through a refresher on, you know, what I'm looking for in the maps. And this way I'm showing you kind of what I'm doing on the water. I'm sharing with you what I'm doing on the water when I get out there the first day. Guys, all day long, I probably covered, I mean, I covered miles, I don't even know, but I covered miles and miles and miles of shore, of offshore structure. I mean, miles of it. So the deal is, you know, I probably only cast at maybe 3 spots all day, and I put in somewhere around about 9 hours of seat time. So that's really what it takes. Now, I was out early. The bass really hadn't moved out there yet. I'd even talked to a couple of guys that I know, that I respect, that I know I can trust. And they had told me that the bass really wasn't out there, really wasn't stacked up. So, you know, if you'll go back to my winter video, my Damiki video, you'll notice, you know, what I like to do is kind of get out there ahead of it. You'll start seeing one or two here, and a lot of times those schools are going to grow. There's going to be more that come out, and the bite will get better and better. As you can see here, we'll show you that in next week's video. So as always, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Questions and comments in the comment section below. There's more information, a ton more information coming on day 2. You'll see next week. But if you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. You know I love to talk about fishing with you guys. Heck, I just love to talk about fishing, period. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell, and you guys rock.